Good morning. Let's build some more on our theme for the day, Inspire. You heard from VMware's Asia Pacific leader, Duncan Hewitt, just now on the importance of women leaders in tech. And frankly, I can't think of many more inspirational leaders in tech or otherwise than our keynote guest for the day. We have with us Harmeen Mehta. Harmeen, of course, needs no introduction, global CIO and head of Airtel's cloud and security business, and now on to her next new challenge at BT. She's an acknowledged leader in India's tech industry and, of course, my favorite customer. Over the years, Harmeen has built a stellar track record across multiple industries, from airlines to banking to telecom, and I can't think of a better role model for all the young women building careers in tech. So delighted to have you with us today, Harmeen.
Delighted to be here, Pradeep, and I think our organizations have had such a long-term, standing with each other, and I've known Pat for so long that I dare not have said no to this anyways.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so let's just tell us a little bit about yourself, something that maybe people don't know as yet.
Anything. I think I'm quite an open book, so probably what you see is what you get. But probably one little thing that people would not know is that at least with partners and vendors, I am very serious. I'm a very hard taskmaster. I mean, I drive you guys to get every single penny of value out of it.
We know that.
But I think with the team and the leadership here at Airtel as well, I'm probably one of the naughtiest people on the floor. So the one who does most pranks.
Okay.
If I were to say any of the pranks, unfortunately, I'll be implicating half the Airtel management board, and my career from there on could be at stake.
We don't want
that. But I think it's important to kind of live in the moment and enjoy life in any shape or form, that in whatever little joys you get. And sometimes those joys come from pulling pranks on your friends and coworkers, and so you should absolutely go for it.
Okay, so I didn't know Harmeen Mehta prankster. I wouldn't have believed that, but if I look at your LinkedIn profile, it says global traveler, workaholic, artistic, techie, global CIO, and then you say and a woman. Truly multifaceted, right? So tell us a bit more about how you see that.
See, I actually feel that I truly feel genuinely that women are God's gift to mankind. And He created two kinds of creatures with different strengths, different capabilities, and different nuances, I would say. He created one which, he said, I'm going to make a little physically stronger. Then he created the other one saying, I need another form of human being, which is mentally stronger. He created one to be a little bit more, let's say, more outspoken or more vain. And he created another one saying, you're going to be the force behind, because, every rocket needs a little fire on its ass, and there is somebody who's got to go and light that fire. So, and I think somewhere in that context, as humanity evolved, I think things started kind of blending in. I mean, I have some close friends who at certain points in their career have been stay-at-home dads, and I have utmost respect for them. And I know a lot of women who go out there and kick ass, and I think we're way behind any kind of that stereotype. And I think both the genders have evolved to appreciate, at least the more mentally stimulating ones have definitely evolved to understand each other and grown in a different way. But I also think still somewhere the expectation from women is that you got to be, no matter what you are doing, whether in profession or person, you got to be really, you've got to kind of look like a girl, behave like a lady, and think like a man, and all of that blended together. And I think naturally the way we are built, we tend to multitask. So I think that one line which you caught on is probably just a summary of all of that. We've all played different roles, and we have different facets to all our personalities. Some are quirky, some are more obvious, and some are necessary for your profession, and some are necessary for who you are as a human being. And I think we're all a sum of our experiences, and this is me.
Right. And as you built a career as a woman in the tech industry, right? So, what are the problems that you face in your experience? And you talked about the expectations that are placed on women might be a little different from what some of us men are used to, right?
See, I have actually um, the funny thing is, I do very few of such events, and the reason is because at my core, I don't believe in those, because I believe that women are very much equal. And if not, we are the superior race, and it's just the other half is just realizing that now. So I have no qualms of saying that. But in all seriousness, if I look back at, if I look at the statistics of my own organization, or other organizations as well, um, the numbers are not 50-50 anywhere. And in fact, they're quite skewed, and we are very far off from that. So somewhere I feel constantly torn between not actually saying that, it's not that every dog has his day, so every woman has to have her day. But at the same time, you see this bias, and you see that in reality, everything is not yet equal in this world. And that's kind of what propels you and tears you, because you are a representative of that community, and you want to do more in order to do that. And at the same time, I don't, it's not my core fundamental belief. I'm not actually a feminist at all. Um, so somewhere kind of torn between that, I think has been the experience of my life. I've never experienced any kind of glass ceiling, nothing. In fact, from one of my kind of much earlier roles in one of the largest banks in the world, in the UK, there's a photograph that I have somewhere in my office that's got 49 men and me, and there's a handwritten note by my mentor below it saying the photograph seems very balanced.
Okay.
So, and I'm very proud of it. But I mean, I have never experienced anything. But my only one piece is that I fundamentally believe that the one thing that holds women back is women themselves. I believe we keep talking about, others have got to do this. And very rarely do we do a lot of introspection and say, what do I have to do it? It's nobody else's job to go and put, a woman on the map. It's your job to put yourself on the map. And I think that's where, I believe that probably, women have got to do definitely a lot more, is actually work on themselves. And at the same time, I think in a professional world, you have to behave like a professional. And gender is, if somebody is thinking about your gender as well, then they are the ones who should first, you should go sack them, or talk to somebody who should sack them, and then again go back to being a professional.
So there is this idea that systemically the system kind of discriminates, and you're saying you shouldn't take that as a reason to stop yourself.
See, I believe in every organization. What is an organization? An organization is a collection of people, and one of those people is me. In my organization, it's me. In your organization, it'll be, every young girl, no matter where she's in the hierarchy, she's as much part of the organization. I believe the same about the culture as well. Some people say, oh, this culture needs to change. Well, the change starts with you. So you have to be, if there is glass ceiling in your organization, you have to be very vocal about it, and talk about it to people who actually will make a change for you. And if there is no glass ceiling, then the onus is on you to make sure that you are the best person for the job. And not, I don't believe in entitlement. I think it'll be an insult to women if, there are, on boards, I see now there are criterias and quotas. And I fully, my brain fully understands why the industry is trying to do that, because it's making a conscious effort to propel a part of society forward that is, for whatever reasons, is not exactly at equal stance as it could be. And that's why I'm saying I'm full of contradictions, because in my own mind, this entire topic is a very controversial topic in itself. But at the same time, I hate to be thought of as a quota. And if somebody ever told me anything, or didn't tell me anything because I was a woman, or told me something because I was a woman, or gave me a job because I was a woman, I think that will be the biggest insult I ever had in my life. But if they just did that because they felt I was the person that they needed to talk to, or I was the person who could do something for them, I think it's the biggest compliment anybody could pay me in my life as well. So I think that's wherein the contradiction does lie. But I do feel, I think uh, I'm not going to discount that, all kind of wrong things don't happen in different organizations. I think they still do. But again, I would say the onus is on us. If somebody does wrong with me, I have to go talk about it and I have to go right that wrong, and not wait for somebody else to come and do it for me. I don't believe in that. And I don't think, I think today, if there are five people who believe, that a woman can't do anything, there are probably, if not another five, another four, another three who believe that they can do anything. So, and I think their voice is going to be much more powerful, especially in a world like today. I really feel, I mean, I think I've been, whether I've been fortunate or whatever, I don't know, but God's been kind. I've never had anything like a glass ceiling. It doesn't mean that I don't have awkward moments, and we all have that, but I have dealt with them the way you would deal with if somebody, whistled at me and I was on the street, and if he ends up with a broken arm, that's his problem.
Okay. So you're saying, you don't feel that there is a place for a sense of entitlement. You're saying, hey, you have to take responsibility for what you want to be. So in terms of, looking back at your career journey, right? I saw there was a lot of interest in artificial intelligence. You were interested in AI when AI wasn't so cool. In fact, you would argue there was a little bit of a waning in interest in AI at the time that you were active there. So tell us a little bit. How did you pick that part of tech, and how did you grow in that space?
So I actually, I started coding when I was very, very young. I was barely 11, and I remember I had excellent schooling in one of the best schools in the country, and they brought in computers, and they were for the elder girls, but I used to go there for the younger break, and in my break only, because I realized that these computers had these big CRT screens, but if I turned a few knobs, I could watch a cricket match.
Okay.
And I remember there was an India England cricket series going on, and I would just go at lunchtime just to peek in the score. And one of the 3 injections they give kids with polio and all when you are young, I actually got one for cricket. So it was really in my street when I was a young kid. So I used to do that, and then when I was sitting there, I would start asking questions to the person who used to run the computer lab, and she kind of took a lot of intriguing interest in this chut of a kid asking all these questions, and started teaching me basic languages and things like that. And from there onwards, I think for the next 2 to 3 years, till I was actually eligible to work on computers, I was already doing a lot, because every single free period I used to get, every lunch break, I used to go and spend in that little room, and it became my favorite place in the big school. And I think it just kind of sparked something very different in me. It was almost like certain people say I found my calling, and maybe this was my calling.
So
I
you were a
just
bit
fell
of a
in love.
nerd at that time. You were a bit of a nerd growing up.
I was an absolute nerd, yes.
Okay.
But a cool nerd, I would like to say. I think so. But I think from there onwards, when it came, to doing my engineering, etc., for whatever reasons, at that point, I couldn't, I wanted to stay back in the city that I was, and go to that engineering college, and I was getting offered electronics because that was the #1 stream of engineering, and I really wanted to do computer science, and there was a lot of fuss that the dean and some of the college created that I should actually be going into electronics rather than computers, and I was so sure that I wanted to do computers, etc. But somewhere between that fuss, I think changed the course of my entire career, because I ended up doing what I wanted to do rather than what others wanted me to do. And but the head of the computer department, she obviously heard about all this commotion that was going on about this girl who kind of gave up everything and wanted to do computers, and she was the head of the computer department, and she was doing her PhD in AI at that point. And so I kind of became her research assistant, and I loved everything that I read. So I got very deeply involved in neural networks and started doing a lot of work even during my college days. And I just thought it was kind of the coolest thing. And I thought this is the tech that's going to change the world. And I'm going to be one of those people who's going to go do that. And little did I know that I was really coming out of that right into the AI winter when the world had given up on AI and said, this is a whole lot of money and very little value. And I think only airlines were using it. And that's probably the reason why I ended up working in the airline industry and how I ended up with British Airways and then Qantas is because, I got into, algorithms, and then from there on into investment banking, because it was all about algo trading. And so it kind of, scratched that itch of mine. And today, of course, this is my favorite era of technology. So it's almost like I've been reborn in this era. And I love that the fact that the world has finally caught on to, something that, a few of the earlier generation, probably several decades ago, knew that is probably the right thing. So if I look back in hindsight, I feel we wasted 2 decades, getting here, but I'm glad that we got here.
Right. And you mentioned you started coding when you were 11, right? And now that journey of, so to speak, innovation, it prompts the work that you're doing now at Airtel Labs, right? So what inspires you to do that?
This is what I do. I mean, this is my strength. This is what I love doing. And I think if you love your work, you haven't worked a single day in your life. And I really feel I haven't worked a single day in my life because I think there are very few professions, and I think technology is definitely one of those where you get to reinvent yourself every year, because what you learned last year and what you're going to do this year is so different. And what you'll do next year, you don't even know about that. And I mean, I just I feel so fortunate to be part of an industry that is evolving so fast. I think the downside of that is, and I see this is my one criticism of a lot of technology middle management, especially, and even senior management. We think when we are senior enough, our job is just culture and people, and we forget that we are actually in technology roles, and we stop investing in technology in ourselves. We continue to invest in tech for our people, but not in ourselves. And that's what I definitely feel very, very differently. I mean, if you look at me, almost every year I do something, and these days with, Harvard, MIT, Stanford, there is so much you can do just online and remotely working with them as well. You can continue to refresh yourselves on, what's coming in the tech world and what's the future, and be part of knowing that, so you can bring that knowledge in your organization and actually do something different. And I think even the ways of working from, how I used to run my teams and how I used to work years ago to this new agile way of working and digital, and, it's changed a lot of our thinking, and we have to keep reinventing ourselves. Otherwise you will be I think in a tech world, you are either very useful or completely useless as a leader. And I think to be very useful, you've got to be on top of today and tomorrow's technology, not yesteryear's. And if you want to be a user's leader, then you can do whatever you want.
Okay, so there's this theme of lifelong learning that seems to pervade what you do. So it's kind of, as you grow higher, people kind of say, hey, I don't need to do the actual learning. There are other people that do that, and I just manage things. And you obviously are not a big proponent of that philosophy at all.
Not at all. And in fact, I think some of my dear friends are going to kill me after this, but I think a lot of SIs, etc. I mean, this is what you see in those organizations that, I've got 8 years of experience. Now I'm going to be a team leader. Well, you should be looking forward to becoming a tech leader rather than a team leader. I mean, leading a team, what are you going to lead them on if you're not the best technologist in your team? Or at least good enough technologist in your team as you go up the hierarchy. Of course, you need to start developing other muscles and other skills. But if you're a tech leader, tech is a part of your job title. How can you not be good at that? And I think, I actually think the biggest ingredient for anybody at any level to be in the technology field is curiosity. And if you haven't killed a few cats and you haven't been really curious, then you're in the wrong profession. If you are in technology and you want to be a technologist, then, you need to have that little kida that goes and says, how do I do this, and how do I improve, and what's a better way of doing this? And we take, I mean, I love what we do here, and we've taken such bold steps, and you guys are well aware. I mean, we took less than 2 years and we moved one of the largest telcos. We moved 100% on a cloud that we set up ourselves, and our and 80% or 90% of Airtel runs on that cloud, and the only part that doesn't run is systems that we felt that actually didn't make sense moving because they're too legacy, and we are replacing them over a period of time anyways. And the other piece that I feel is that we've done so much investment in our AI ops, etc. I mean, our data center NOC is completely autonomized. From 120 people, we're down to 5. I think it's a case study in itself. Everything is run by AI. Even in our core operations, the amount of self-heal we are building in, I'm really proud of the work the teams have done, especially this year. We brought on our faults across all our businesses on the non-network side by almost 60, 70%. And the reason for that is we're building self-heal applications. Applications don't need operations that find their own fault and self-heal themselves. And that takes a lot of, again, AI thinking as well. I think it's a myth that AI is only for doing the deep data science that brings in new revenue and value. And of course, I mean, that's where we started as well. And that's bread and butter for a company like Airtel, which has so much of data and we have to mine that constantly. It's, for us, AI ML is a matter of survival, not a luxury. But the same thinking is what we brought into ops. And I think that's what's really changed the landscape and allowed us to greatly improve customer experience as well, bring value to the business. That's what we are here to do.
Fascinating. Finally, question in terms of how you managed your career. You lived in about 10 countries, I believe, and traveled to more than 30. Yeah, a lot of us would love to know how you managed work and life through all these changes. Interestingly, it's probably not a question that a lot of men get asked, but it is something that a lot of women grapple with as they go through their careers and have this expectation of being able to manage all of this, right?
See, I think we all have things that we want to do and things we want to achieve, whether it's in our personal lives or professional lives. I think at some point, what we are not good at is probably being very honest with ourselves about it. And if I'm very honest with myself, I always wanted, to go really deep in technology and do, really stretch myself and put myself in awkward positions as well and see, can I do this and can I do that? And I think that's kind of what propelled me from different roles within organizations or across countries and geographies. And, I got opportunities as well that allowed me to go and really test myself in very, very different situations. And I think at that point, I mean, I tell this to some of my guys as well. And, I was having a chat with one of my directs the other day, and, everybody reaches the point where, this person was telling me that something they wanted to take care for their kid had in school, and there was some critical meeting in office, and I'm very torn. And there's nothing to be torn. You've got two situations. You've got to see which one's more important. And there'll be times when the meeting is more important, and there'll be times when you feel the kid's guitar recital is more important. And you've just got to, but where you are, you should be present there in that moment and not be thinking about, oh, I'm missing the meeting and what's my boss going to think about it? Well, if you're that worried, then you might as well not be there and be in the meeting. And if you are in the meeting, then you got to make sure that you're not saying, oh, I'm missing this on the home front, etc. And I think I was very clear about my choices, what I wanted to do. And I just kind of pursued that. I made a few mistakes, but you learn a lot from your mistakes as well. And that's actually when you really grow up, and then you just dust yourself off and say, okay, on to the next thing that I can probably get wrong.
Okay. All right. So that was fascinating. So I'm taking a bunch of takeaways. I made some notes, right? So, what I'm summarizing is people are different, and you have to take advantage. I mean, understand that people are different and be comfortable dealing with that. Get out of your comfort zone. You all have to, if you really want to grow, you have to embrace some level of discomfort. You have to embrace uncomfortability. And you take responsibility. There's no entitlement to success and growth. But if you take responsibility and your change that you want to drive starts with you, then some of these things will happen. And so, yeah, those are some of the things. And of course, the one thing that I want to highlight, curiosity, right? If you want to be successful in tech, that kida that you talked about, right? Be curious and explore that curiosity, and get this thing that, hey, the learning process never stops, especially as you grow higher. The day you stop learning is where you kind of slide off into being that, quote unquote useless leader that you don't want to be. So those are the 4 takeaways that I got from this, Harmeen. So
And the only one I would add to that, Pradeep, is that for women, it's important you put yourself on the map. Don't wait for anybody else to do it.
Yeah, take ownership, right? Nobody else is going to do it for you. You got to fight your own battles. But it's also gratifying to say that, when you've done that, like you said, for 5 people that said this is not a good thing, there were 4 or 5 other people that were quite happy to support you, right? So and that's what we should count on. So thank you so much, Harmeen. This is why I love my job, right? VMware and Airtel, we do a bunch of cutting edge work together, but it also gives us the opportunity to collaborate on vitally important initiatives like this, so that young professionals, as as they build their careers in tech, and learn and be inspired by leaders like you, Harmeen. So as each of you it's required to make our industry a place where each one of us can explore our full potential. Nirmaan itself runs over these 2 days, but I'm sure what you learn and absorb here will help you on each of your individual journeys. Thank you once again, Harmeen, for sharing your story with all of us today. As always, enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me and tolerating me as well. And hope you guys have a wonderful 2 days and a great event.